So what if I told you that the most powerful tool you have for navigating the world isn't some new piece of tech, but just the way you talk? Today, we're going to dive into a really simple but incredibly deep idea. Be precise in your speech. It's the key, you see, to actually understanding the complex reality that's hiding in plain sight.
Okay, so let's jump right in with a question that seems pretty simple on the surface. You just got a brand new, top-of-the-line laptop. This thing is more powerful than all the computers from the Apollo space program combined. So why is it that in just a couple of years, it's going to be basically worthless?
Well, the answer gets right to the core of how we see the world. That laptop sitting in front of you, that's not really the computer. It's more like a user-friendly illusion, an interface that's designed to hide this gigantic, invisible network of systems that's changing all the time. To really get this, we first need to take a look at the world that we usually don't even notice, the one that's humming along perfectly in the background. Now, this might just flip how you think about everything. We think we see objects, right? A chair, a car, a tree, but we don't. Not really. What we actually see is utility. We see things we can use, or things that are in our way. You know, a chair, a beanbag, and a tree stump are totally different things, but our brain just lumps them together as a place I can sit. We take this infinitely complex world, and we flatten it into what's useful to us right now.
So that laptop of yours isn't just a thing. It's a tool that helps you work, connect with people, create stuff. But it's also just one tiny little piece of a much, much bigger system. Think of it like a single leaf on a massive tree.
That one leaf, your laptop, it can't exist without the tree, which is like its operating system. But the tree itself is part of a whole forest. That's the power grid, the factories that built it, the global supply chains. And that forest can only survive because of the climate. And that's all the invisible stuff, the social contract, economic stability, and just the basic trust that makes it all work. Your laptop becomes obsolete because the entire forest around it is constantly growing and changing.
And this simplified reality we live in, it's actually incredibly efficient. We can drive a car without having a clue how an internal combustion engine works. We use a laptop without knowing the first thing about manufacturing a microchip. It is a perfect system, right up to the second that it breaks. Just think about it. When your car is running fine, it's just the car. It's the thing that gets you from A to B. But the moment it sputters to a halt on the side of the road, it totally transforms. It's not a simple tool anymore. Suddenly, it's this chaotic, stressful mess of wires and metal parts, and its failure forces you to see all the complexity you were happy to ignore just 5 minutes earlier.
Now, this principle doesn't just apply to machines. This is where it gets really, really personal. Because what happens when it's not your car that breaks down, but your most basic assumptions about the people you love? The source material uses this powerful and honestly pretty painful example. Imagine a wife who has a simple, working picture of her husband. He's a loving, trustworthy partner. Her world is stable. And then, one day, she finds proof that he's been having an affair. And in a single moment, her whole simplified reality just collapses. Look at this shift. The loving husband is violently replaced by a frightening stranger. But it goes so much deeper than that. Her own identity is shattered. She's no longer a secure and valued partner. She sees herself as a gullible fool. Even the past, something that should be solid, it morphs into a complete nightmare. Her stable past is suddenly revealed to be nothing but a history of lies. This collapse forces a complete existential crisis. The questions become terrifying. Was she just an innocent victim? Or, and this is the hard part, did she on some level choose not to see the warning signs? Was she a co-conspirator in her own delusion? Her entire sense of self is gone. And that is what is so terrifying. When our simple map of the world turns out to be wrong, we don't just get a new, updated map. No, we get thrown headfirst into the terrifying, formless chaos that exists underneath all order. It's that raw potential that was always there, just hidden beneath the very thin surface of our daily routines and assumptions. So, how did these total collapses even happen? Well, believe it or not, a simple children's story gives us a profound explanation for how we let chaos just grow in our lives. It's a surprisingly deep story about a little boy named Billy Bixby, who wakes up one morning and finds a small, kind of cute dragon sitting in his room. So he tells his mom about it, and she just dismisses him. There's no such thing as a dragon, she says.
But every time she denies it, the dragon gets a little bigger. It starts off small, totally manageable. But because it's ignored, it just keeps growing and growing until it's so big it fills the entire house. And then it literally runs away with the house on its back. The problem, because it was ignored, ended up consuming everything. So what's the solution? It is shockingly simple. When the chaos is just too big to deny, Billy finally plants his feet and insists there is a dragon mom. And the very second that the problem is acknowledged, the moment it is named, it immediately starts to shrink, all the way back down to a manageable size. At the end of the story, his mom asks him, why did it have to get so big? And Billy's answer is just profound. He says maybe it wanted to be noticed. And that tells us something huge. The problems we ignore, they don't just vanish. They grow. They demand our attention. And often, they get it in the most catastrophic ways.
And this brings us right back to our main idea. That story gives us the key. To confront the dragons in our own lives, we need a weapon. And that weapon is precise speech. Dragons grow because of what the source calls sins of omission. It isn't about what we do wrong. It's about what we fail to do. It's the things left unsaid, the problems we don't deal with, the truths we don't speak. We tend to think of silence as being passive, but it's not. It is an active choice to let the dragon eat. Look, in our modern world, especially in our relationships, a lot of the old traditional rules are gone. And when that happens, we're left with only 3 ways to solve our problems. 2 are easy, but they're terrible. 1 person can become a slave and just do whatever they're told, or 1 can become a tyrant and bark all the orders. The third option, the only one that actually works, is negotiation. And you absolutely cannot negotiate without honest, precise speech. This is the real power of being precise. You take that formless, terrifying, chaotic feeling and you give it a name. You give it boundaries. You make the dragon visible. And once you can see it, you can actually deal with it. You can't fight a dragon you pretend isn't there. Okay, so if being precise is so powerful, then why is it so terrifyingly hard to do? Why do we so often choose to just let the dragon grow? We avoid it because speaking the truth forces us to face 2 really fundamental fears. The first is the fear of chaos. What if saying what's true makes everything fall apart? What if I lose my job or the relationship ends? But the second fear, that one's often way deeper. It's the fear of hell. What if, when I finally articulate the problem, I find out that the problem is me? That I'm the one who's lazy or spiteful or just plain wrong? And here's the ultimate paradox of avoiding the truth. When you stay vague and refuse to define your own failures, you think you're protecting yourself, but you're doing the exact opposite. You're trading the sharp, specific pain of your actual flaws for the dull, constant, infinite ache of all your potential flaws. It's the difference between knowing you messed up one specific thing and just living with that low-grade background hum of feeling like a generally worthless person. So, as we wrap this up, we're left with a really personal challenge. Naming a problem is the first and most crucial step to making it manageable. Speaking with precision is a genuine act of courage. It's how we transform chaos into order. So the real question we have to ask ourselves is, what chaos are we allowing to grow in our own lives? What dragons have you decided not to see?